John Leckie is one of Britain's most acclaimed rock producers. He has produced and engineered music by Muse, the Stone Roses, Radiohead, Pink Floyd, and many, many more. An invited audience of 80 record producers gathered at Abbey Road Studios, where George Shilling sat down with John to chat about the studios and his amazing career there.
Where's your shoes? You're fired.
I just got a D19C. If I put it over the drummer, will it sound like Ringo? And use a note, it sounds
That's right.
Shane Howard, that's me, with the help of Tape Community Music and Film, have brought the conversation to life through my animations.
So, what was the question?
I don't know.
There was always a sound effects library, but a lot of it was in mono and studio and Stuart and Alan Parsons as well doing Money. So Alan, the Money loop on Money was Alan recording clocks ticking for the sound effects cupboard, you know. But you basically had a... Let's just laugh. And you remember, you used to have the sound effects cupboard here. So very often, you know, you'll be doing an album and you go, hey, it'd be great to have the sound of seagulls, wouldn't it? So you rush off to Stuart's sound effects cupboard and get these things out. You know, and the beat, of course, Sgt. Pepper's full of Abbey Road sound effects from that cupboard.
Right.
But this room here is interesting because there was a window there, and there was no window, it was just a door, so you couldn't see into this room. But there's some pictures going around that people might have seen of the Beatles with a Moog synthesizer, with a Moog synthesizer, and it's one of the big Moog, what they call 25s now. Big Moog synthesizer, and I think it belonged to Mike Hugg from Manfred Mann, because you got these pictures, and there's Jeff Emerick standing. I think it's when Jeff Emerick passed away, they kept showing these pictures of the Beatles with the Moog, and Jeff and George Martin there, and Tony Clark sitting in the background, and it's in this room right where all you lot are standing. That's where it was.
Yeah.
And it was never an isolation room because there was no visual contact. But the studio was completely round the other way, and it was a TG desk like that. Originally it was that colour. That's all I know about the colour. That kind of green colour is Mark 1, I think. Is that the first one, that green colour? Yeah. And then it went to a black colour and a wraparound, a bit like it was then in 2. And we were 1, 2 and 3 at one time, had all TG desks. When I started, it was all TG desks, 3M 8 tracks, Studer J37s, Lockwood speakers in tannoy speakers in Lockwood cabinets, big Lockwood cabinets up on the shelf, which were really boomy. And in fact, overnight, because Mickey Most had said so, had been to America, every room in the building was changed from tannoy to JBL. So no one consulted the engineers. No one said, hey, we're going to change the monitors in all the studios. You know, even the cutting rooms and everything. It was. They were changed overnight from tannoy Lockwoods to JBLs. Those same what's at the back of Studio 2 there, you'll see the studio playback on either side of the back door there. Those speakers were in every room. In here, 4 of them in Studio 2 for quadraphonic, 4 of them in studio for all the mastering rooms. Chris Blair's room was all those tannoy speakers. I don't know what they were powered with. Were they powered with 50-watt EMI 50-watt tube amps?
Quad.
Really? Oh, quad 303s, quad 50s.
50.
Quad 50s. They never went loud enough. In here, you could do it in 2 because it was small. But the thing is, this is a very big control room, and you played it loud to the bands. You know, I mean, I'm rock and roll person. You never listen to anything on small speakers until the NS10 came out. Really, no record was ever made, overdubbed, mixed, or mastered on a little speaker until the NS10, until the early 80s. Really, so all those records that everyone goes, wow, they sound great in the 60s. They're all done loud on big speakers. And that's how you recorded, you know.
Yeah, you hear what was going on.
And it was great, and you could hear what was going on, exactly, and it was exciting. And when the band came in for a playback, it was
that's a lot
fucking
of it as well,
crank
isn't
it
it?
up, and
Yeah.
it would be on the point of, you know, as max as you could go before it started distorting.
Before it started hurting.
Yeah, and if you didn't like it, you went and stood at the back of the room or something. Yeah, but all those records, that's big. It just took me a long time to remember that. Actually,
Yeah.
was that it was all everything was done loud on big speakers.
Yeah. You did XTC in here?
Yeah.
You were telling me about they had a bit of a meeting with somebody in the corridor.
Oh yeah, Edward Heath. I did XTC's second album in here. I did the first album as well. We mixed in here, and Edward Heath, who was the Prime Minister, Edward Heath was a choral conductor. He conducted choirs, loved all that, and he was down in Studio One. And this was the time of the Sex Pistols and stuff. And so someone from Virgin came running and said, would Mr. Heath like to come and meet a punk rock band? He goes, oh yes, I'd love that. So at lunchtime there was Edward Heath and his crew in with XTC, and I mean they weren't Sex Pistols, they weren't like Out of Order or anything, but it was quite an interesting thing to have that. And Margaret Thatcher would come for a visit round the studios, and that. What was it that someone just said about the King?
Yeah,
walking in?
what was that conversation? Was that?
Who were we talking
was
to?
it Tony?
Yeah, anyway.
The King?
Yeah, the King.
King George VI.
King George VI in Abbey Road.
Who mentioned that earlier?
We got the
Beatrice
microphone.
Harrison.
Beatrice Harrison.
Oh yeah.
Cello and the Nightingale.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Anyway, so what was the question?
I don't know. It's a long time ago now. XTC. Mate. So was that recorded, that conversation with Edward Heath? Or does
It was recorded, but it didn't come out very
No.
well because when Studio 3 was done up, when it had the Neve mixer, when they got rid of the TG, so 1974, I think we went to
TG,
Neve. Went to Neve Desk, which is now at Paul Epworth's church. The Neve Desk there used to be here in 3. And the first session was Wish You Were Here, was Pink Floyd Wish You Were Here on there. And actually the night before, the session was due to start on the Monday, and I don't know if Lester was here, but I was on the session before Barry Humphries came in, because I'd known the Floyd and worked with them for some time, and they said, oh, can you do our next album? It's like, no, fuck off, you know. It's like, yes, of course I'll do it. So I was there. And the night before, the mixer hadn't even been turned on. It was all there, the new Neve Desk, but it hadn't been powered up. And they plugged it in, and there was this deafening hum coming from everything. And everyone stayed up all night trying to get rid of the hum. And I came in 10 o'clock the next morning, and they'd fixed it. Right. And then the Floyd turned up at 2, and off we went, Shine on Your Crazy Diamond, backing track, you know, take 1.
But does that tape exist of Edward Heath and the XTC, is what I was getting at?
No, I wiped it. No, it doesn't, no. So, Studio 3, yeah, this is it. It's great. They ruined it when they did it up and turned it all round. I don't know why they didn't keep it the way it was, but
It was completely oblong
yeah,
with phonamite or pegboard boards.
yeah, pegboard. It was very dead. It was very dead and never had any lighting. The lighting was all. Alan Brown did the lighting. Do you remember that lighting
Yes,
on the ceiling?
Andromeda.
He had this strange thing.
Outer planets.
Yeah,
Yeah. We still got that in the cupboard somewhere.
have you?
Yeah.
It was what would that was
6 foot square. Little
Perspex things.
perspex
Yeah,
pegs, different diameters.
yeah. They made this in their spare
Looked like
time.
the heavens and the Andromeda.
It was an Andromeda. It was a galaxy, a spiral galaxy, all done with perspex, little holes put in with a light behind it, and they put it up on the ceiling. So when you looked at it, it was this spiral galaxy, but it was really tacky. It was really horrible, and that was,
It was
what
the
you had to
future,
look
then.
at. It was the future. Yeah, this is 1974, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So things have changed a bit since then. There's about 1 million channels on this desk.
There's 1 million channels. Yeah,
And then there's more mic preamps in the wall over there.
Hundreds of
There's
them, yeah.
Neve ones and all sorts going on.
and outboard. We never had. We did have outboard in 3. The only outboard we had actually were Keepex and Game Brains, and Fairchilds and Outex.
Yeah.
And of course on the TG desk you got compressors on every channel. So they kind of said, well, you don't need, what do you want limiters and compressors for? You've got Fairchilds.
And did you have echo plates, EMT plates, and
4 EMT plates
and springs?
No,
No springs. That's a bit low rent for
No,
Abbey Road.
no
Yeah.
springs. You had 4 EMT plates which you could patch around anywhere, but you also had 3 chambers. So each studio, there's chambers 1, 2 and 3. And on the roof here, if you go up to the top floor and when you come to the top of the stairs, straight ahead of you is a door, which unfortunately is locked, but it was always left open. And you could climb out on the roof there. And on the roof is still there is a little, a very short tiled room, which is number 3's chamber.
Nice.
Number 1's chamber was under the front of the house, under what used to be room 42.
Yeah, it used to be the stable for the horse.
Was it? Is that what that
Back
chamber
in
was?
1840,
Ah, right.
when the house was built,
Yeah.
the front house.
So
the stables.
Before EMT plates were invented, each studio had its own echo chamber. And again, you could patch between them. So if you were doing a mix in here, you could use number 1 or number 2 chamber. You could have 4 plates and 4 chambers if no one else. And very often you did. Yeah.
Was that all right, mate?
That was fantastic. That's brilliant.
Is that the sort of thing you wanted?